Hello everyone. In the last lecture, we were discussing about the Galilean transformation equations, Michelson-Morley experiment, and the postulates of special theory of relativity. So before going to start, I want to discuss again what was the Galilean transformation equation. In the Galilean transformation equation, the transformation equation can be written as x dash is equal to x minus vt, y dash is equal to y, and z dash is equal to z, t dash is equal to t, where x dash, y dash, z dash, t dash are the observations made by the observer of s dash frame, and x, y, z, t was the observations made by the observer of s frame of reference. In this particular case, we had assumed that the s dash is moving with velocity v in the positive x direction. The Galilean transformation equation was based on the postulates of based on the Newtonian relativity. In the 19th century, it was the strong belief of scientists that medium is required for the propagation of waves, whether it is light wave or sound wave. We know that for the sound waves we require air medium, but for light wave it was proposed that light moves relative to ether medium. So the concept of hypothetical ether medium was given, and Michelson and Morley performed an experiment to prove the existence of hypothetical ether medium, and he was also interested to calculate the relative velocity between earth and ether. I would like to repeat the Michelson-Morley experiment here again. In the Michelson-Morley experiment, we have seen that this is the setup of Michelson-Morley experiment, in which a light source S was used. There was a beam splitter. The light strikes on the beam splitter. The beam splitter splits the incoming beam into two equal parts, and these beams one passes through the beam splitter, one is reflected at 90 degree to the towards the mirror M1. M1 is a fully polished mirror, so it reflects back the rays again in the same path, and after passing through the beam splitter it reaches to the telescope. And the second ray which passes through the beam splitter reaches to the M2. M2 again the fully polished mirror reflect it back to the beam splitter, and beam splitter again send it to the telescope. Here both the rays recombine and give rise to some interference, some type of interference, either constructive or destructive, depending upon the path length. So in the for the observer, which it in this setup we have also assumed that the arm length of Michelson-Morley experiment was same, that is distance from beam splitter to M1 was kept constant, that was L, and distance between M2 and beam splitter was also kept constant, that was L. So these two mirrors were at equidistant from the beam splitter. In order to calculate in order to know whether the constructive or destructive interference will take place, we must know the effective path difference between these two rays. So in order to calculate the effective path difference, we must calculate the time taken by both the rays to reach to the telescope. So the time difference will give us about the information about the path difference. Suppose here is ray 1 and this one is ray 2. So for the ray 1, suppose our observer, since we are measuring the time and time is invariant in the Galilean transformation, so it does not matter which observer is measuring these events. Okay, so suppose for the observer at ground, first we'll calculate for the observer at ground for ray 1. Okay, so for ray 1 the time t1 can be calculated as uh, it is going in this direction, horizontal direction, and traversing a distance L. This distance L is constant for the observer which are at ground, so there should be no doubt here. And for the observer, since c is the velocity, is the velocity of light, and it is with respect to hypothetical ether medium. But our whole setup, as we have already assumed that our whole setup is on the earth and it is moving with some velocity v, so observer for the observer in the horizontal direction, and for this ray which are approaching towards the mirror M2, he will notice its velocity as c minus v for the rays going in this direction. Okay, but after the reflection, the observer will find its velocity as c plus v. Why this is? Because our whole the setup is moving with velocity v and c is with respect to ether medium. So the for the observer which are at ground will find that for ray 1 which are approaching towards the mirror M2, the velocity will be c minus v, and for the rays 2 for the ray 1 which are reflected back, observer will notice its velocity as c plus v. So the time t1 can be calculated as L divided by c minus v plus L divided by c plus v. We can further simplify it as 2L by c into multiplied by 1 minus v square by c square minus 1. If we take the binomial expansion and neglect the higher order terms, as v is small compared to c, so we can write it as 2L by c 1 plus v square by c square. So this is the time taken by the ray 1, that is t1 is equal to TL by c 1 plus v square by c square. Now our IM is, we have already discussed in the previous classes, but I am repeating it again. Now our purpose is to calculate the time taken by ray 2 in reaching to the telescope. Again I want to repeat, in Galilean transformation, or in other words we can say that in Newtonian relativity time is invariant, so it does not matter whether we are measuring in the earth, whether we are measuring the time in the earth frame of reference, or we are measuring the time with respect to the observer which are in the ether medium. So the time measured by both the observer who are either on the earth or on the ether medium will find the same time according to the Newtonian relativity. So this was the time calculated assuming that the observer is on the earth. So for our convenience, we are going to calculate the time taken by ray 2 with respect to the ether medium. So for the observer which are in the ether medium, or we can say that for the observer in the universal frame of reference, he will find that the rays are reaching up to the beam splitter with velocity c, because c is the velocity of light with respect to the ether medium, it was assumed. And when the since the whole setup is on the ground, on the earth, so and the earth is whole set is moving with velocity v, so what we will find that when it strikes on the beam splitter, so this is the case when the light comes and reaches to the beam splitter, beam splitter splits into the two parts. So one part will go in the horizontal direction and other was going in the vertical direction, but when it was going in the vertical direction, so since the whole setup was moving with some velocity v, so the initially it was m1, the position was at m1, but when the ray will reach, the position of m1 will be some different position, means m1 for the observer, yes dash, for the observer which are at ground, the position will be at the same position, means the position will not change. But for the observer which are in the universal frame of reference, he will notice since the whole the setup is moving, so at the time when the light reaches to the beam splitter and when it reflects at 90 degree, so the new position of m1 becomes at m1 dash, so the rays will not reach at 90 degree, but the rays will follow this path. So this is the new part of ray 2-1. When it reaches to the m1 dash, so m1 dash is a fully polished mirror, so it will reflect it back. So when it reflects, the beam splitter position will also change, because whole setup is moving along with uh, whole the setup is moving along with the motion of earth. So the new position of the beam splitter will be like that. So this was the initial position, this was the virtual position of beam splitter with respect to the observer, which are in the universal frame of reference. So the light will follow, the ray 2 will follow this path. The path which seems like initially for the observer it seems like this will appear as like this in the case of observer which are sitting in the universal frame of reference. Since the relative velocity between earth and ether is v, so this, suppose how much time, here we have taken the time t1, suppose this ray takes the time t2 to reach up to beam splitter. So in time t2 this distance will be v t2. If we draw the perpendicular, so this distance will be v t2 by 2. This distance is in the vertical direction, so this is the arm length, and this will be again L, and so the we can calculate this distance, that is bs to m1 dash, and it will be according to Pythagorean theorem, it will be L square plus vt2 by 2 vt2 by 2 whole square. Okay. So total path traversed by ray 2 will be uh, with respect to the observer of universal ether frame of reference, the total distance traversed by the ray 2 will be equal to L square plus Vt2 by 2 का whole square, and again this length plus this length will be total path. Okay, so you can write it again, Vt2 by 2 whole square. This is a total part for ray 2. We are considering it ray 2, so this is the total part of ray 2. If you want to again calculate the time, then what we have to do, t2 divided t2 will be equal to d by c. Why c? Why we have taken c? Because we have assumed the velocity of light c is with respect to ether medium, yes, or we can say that c is the velocity measured with respect to universal ether medium, so it will be in the same in all direction for the observer which are already in the ether medium. So we can write is equal to c, t2 is equal to d by c, so we can calculate it as 2 L square plus Vt2 by 2 का whole square divided by c. If you simplify this expression, you will find for the expression for t2, you will, if you should do yourself, you will find the final expression as 2L by c 1 minus v square by c square. You can further write it 2L by c 1 minus v square by c square पे power minus 1 by 2. Okay, so if you again do the binomial expansion and neglect higher order terms, as v is smaller than c, so you can write it 2L by c 1 plus v square by 2c square. Okay, so this is the time t1 taken by the ray 1, and this is the time t2 taken by the ray 2 to traverse the path. So time t1 is this and time t2 is this, so the time difference between delta t you can be calculated as t1 difference of t2. So if you will solve it, you will find that this is equal to 2L by c into v square by 2c square, 2 cut, so you have the expression v square L by c cube. So the time difference comes to be v square by L, v square into L divided by c cube. So the path length can be calculated as c multiplied by the time difference between the two rays. So the final expression will come as v square L by c square. So in the original experiment, what Michelson did, that he rotated the whole setup by 90 degrees. So this path ray 2 become the horizontal path and ray 1 become the vertical. So the what it was expected that the total path difference will be double, because the whole setup was repeated by 90 degrees. So we can calculate the effective path length when this experiment was formed, means when rotated. So it was expected that the rays which are reaching at the telescope will see after rotation additional path difference of, so path difference will be double, that will be 2lv square by c square. So the phase difference, so we can calculate the phase difference, or simply we can say the phase shift will be 2l v square by c square divided by lambda. Sorry, this is not a phase difference, uh, this is fringe shift, sorry, fringe shift. So this is the part difference, so we can calculate the fringe shift as 2lv square divided by c square divided by lambda. So the effective fringe shift should be like c square by lambda. This is the expression for the fringe shift. This is the calculation. This was the calculation, theoretical calculation for fringe shift, as it was expected from the Michelson-Morley experiment, with our assumption that the light moves with relative to the hypothetical ether medium, and we have also considered the Galilean transformation equation. So the expression for the fringe shift was like this. But when Michelson did this experiment, he found that there is no fringe shift, means fringe shift was 0. So there was no fringe shift. So this result was considered as negative result, because there was no fringe shift. It means that either our assumption that the earth moves, our assumption that ether is a universal frame of reference is either wrong, or relative motion between earth and ether is wrong. Why? Because this is L length, L is constant, lambda is the wavelength of light, it was also constant, and c is the velocity of light, it was also constant. So these three terms cannot be zero, so v must be zero. So it was concluded that v is 0, means relative motion between earth and ether was 0. So the concept of hypothetical ether medium was disregarded. So this was all about the Michelson-Morley experiment, and there were several explanation was given to explain this negative result. So we are calling it as a negative result because it was against the assumption of the experiment, because it was expected that there was some relative velocity between earth and ether, but experimentally we did not find it. We expected to prove the existence of ether, but we could not prove using this experiment. So these results were termed as negative results. So in order to explain these negative results, several theory was given. One was ether drag hypothesis. We have already discussed all these. According to ether drag hypothesis, when some heavier body, for example, suppose when earth moves in the ether medium, it tracks the ether along with its direction of motion. So there is no chance of relative motion between ether and earth. But this theory was also disregarded. Then there was a length contraction hypothesis by Lorentz. So length contraction hypothesis, according to length contraction hypothesis, if somebody is moving the direction if some object is moving with some velocity v, then the observer at rest will measure its velocity as L is equal to, if L0 was its length in when it was at rest, so the length for the observer which with respect to which this rod is moving will be given as 1 by v. This was able to explain, but this was also recorded because there was no experimental evidence of this. And again, the third hypothesis was was by Einstein. According to Einstein, velocity of light c is constant and it is independent of the relative motion between any body of the frame of reference. We can say that the velocity of light is independent of the relative motion between the observers, and it is same in all the frame of reference. So this was widely accepted, and so the Michaels, based on the conclusions of this experiment, Einstein has given his special postulates of special theory of relativity. Einstein's postulates of special theory of relativity. Einstein has given two postulates. First postulate was laws of physics have same form in all frame of reference, in all inertial frame of references. All inertial. And second postulate was velocity of light is constant all frame of reference. So these are the postulates of special theory of relativity, and so we see that the Galilean transformation equations, because the experiment of Michelson-Morley experiment was also we have for the calculation of this experiment we have also used Galilean transformation equation. So we see that Galilean transformation equations are no more useful to explain the conclusions of Michelson-Morley experiment, as it does not support the constancy of speed of light. So the Galilean transformation equation, what I want to say is, Galilean transformation does not support that the c is constant and it is independent of motion. So it is hard to believe that Earth is not having any relative motion with an absolute frame of reference. Therefore, in order to explain the results of Michelson-Morley experiment, we can assume that velocity of light is independent of frame of reference. So we see here that we require a new transformation equation which should be in accordance with the postulates of special theory of relativity. So next we are going to establish the Lorentz transformation equation. Lorentz transformation equations were derived on the basis of these two postulates. So we are going to discuss again the Lorentz transformation equation. So in Galilean transformation we had seen that x dash is equal to x minus vt for the particular case when one frame of reference yes and yes, there was two frame of reference, yes, when the s dash was moving in the positive x direction. So this was the transformation equation used to relate the observations of two different frame of references. Okay, but what we find that this transformation equation was not adequate. This was able to explain all the relative motion for which the velocity was very small compared to the velocity of light, but when the velocity of the body was very high, then it was not able to explain. So we must add some function of velocity in this equation. Suppose we are assuming that k is the function of k is the function of velocity. If we multiply this with the already existing transformation, so this should satisfactorily explain the all the experimental phenomena. So what we are assuming that this is the transformation equation, x dash is equal to k x minus vt. So x and t is the observations of S frame of reference, and S dash is the observation made by S dash frame of reference, and we are assuming here that S dash is moving with velocity v in the positive S direction. So these are the expected transformation equation. So let's write it, equation number 1. So according to the first postulates of special theory of relativity, laws of physics have the same form in all frame of reference. So if x dash, we have written this equation using some law, x dash is equal to kx minus vt. So similarly we can write the same equation for x in terms of x dash, and that will be k x dash plus v t dash. Okay, why I am writing it v? As we have written this equation assuming that s dash is moving with velocity v, but for this observer s is moving with velocity minus v. So in the similar way we can write this equation. Okay, so what we are going to do next, we will substitute x dash on in this equation. Okay, so we can write x is equal to k, the k x minus vt plus vt dash. Okay, sorry, this is x. Okay, so x will be equal to k, we have substituted the value of x dash here, so it is k in bracket x minus vt plus vt dash. Now we are going to further simplify it, so we can write it as x is equal to k square x minus k square vt plus kvt dash, or we can write it x is equal to if we will take these two terms together, so what will be 1 minus k square plus k square vt is equal to k v t dash. So we can write for t dash as k t plus x k v 1 minus k square. Let's write it, equation number 3. So this is the expression for t dash in terms of the observation of S frame of reference. Yeah, k is some function of velocity, v is the relative velocity, x is the observation made by S frame of reference. So we have written the time t, which was initially an invariant quantity, but now t dash depends on the velocity and some function of velocity. So we have almost done. So what in order to find our new transformation equation, which was based on the postulates of special theory of relativity, we have to do only, we have to substitute k in this equation, we have to substitute k in this expression. So let's do it. So x dash was is equal to k x minus vt, and so we have to substitute the value of k, and which was 1, which is 1 minus v square by c square. So x dash can be written as x minus vt 1 minus v square by c square. This is the our transformation equation. So for t dash, now our next time is to calculate t dash. So for t dash we have written this one, na, kt minus xy kb, xy kb into k square minus 1. Okay, so we will substitute the value of k, so we can write it, k is 1 upon 1 minus v square by c square, and that is t minus x. Okay, so if you substitute the value of k, that is 1 upon square root of 1 minus v square by c square, so you will get this expression. So we have substituted, we are going to simplify it, so we can write this expression as this. So it will this is not okay, if we cancel it with this, so it will come in a power half, come with a power half. So our final expression will be t divided by 1 minus v square by c square minus x by v into v square by c square divided by 1 minus v square by c square. So you can write it as t dash is equal to 1 minus v square by c square, and in the numerator you can write t, v will cancel to this v, t minus xv by c square. Okay, so this is the our transformation equation for time, t minus xv by c square divided by 1 minus v square by c square. So this equation along with x dash is equal to x minus vt is equal to 1 minus v square by c square. So these two equations are called Laurent transformation equation. So this was derived. This equation was derived. Uh, so we have derived this assuming that two frame of reference S and S dash. Okay, S and S dash is moving the positive x. Sorry, S dash is moving in positive x direction with velocity v. So in this particular case, when S dash is moving positive x direction with velocity v, our transformation equation comes to be x dash x minus vt divided by 1 minus v square by c square. For y dash, since there is no motion in the y direction, so hence the y dash dimension will be unchanged. Similarly, z dash will be unchanged, z dash is equal to z, and t dash will be t minus xv by c square. So these are the Laurent transformation equation. What should I name it? Laurent transformation equation. Okay, so this Laurent transformation equation is derived based on the postulates of special theory of relativity, according to which laws of physics have the same form and velocity of light is independent of motion of the observers. So these are the equations which relate the observations of S frame of reference with the observations of S dash frame of reference. Okay, so I want to end here. In the next class we'll solve some more problems.